Here with breaking news, Luigi Mangione expected to plead guilty this morning in connection with his federal prosecution for allegedly murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Dan Abrams is here to break it all down, but we start with Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky at the courthouse with the latest. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning to you, Whit. Luigi Mangione is due here at Manhattan Federal Court just moments from now for what would be a remarkable turn in a murder case that shocked the city and captivated the country. This morning, Luigi Mangione, privileged 28-year-old son of a well-off Maryland family who raged against corporate America, is expected to plead guilty to federal charges accusing him of stalking and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a New York City street. Since his capture in Pennsylvania after a days-long manhunt, Mangione has maintained he is not guilty, but sources tell ABC News he is prepared to change his plea as he faces a mountain of evidence, including this video of Thompson's murder, the killer approaching from behind and shooting him in the back, and these writings police found during a search of Mangione's backpack. Frankly, one journal entry said, the parasites simply had it coming. Police also said they pulled the murder weapon from his bag. Mangione has his admirers who defend him and the murder he's accused of committing. But vigilante justice is a crime, and prosecutors have expressed confidence in the case. His potential guilty plea to federal stalking charges comes less than a month before he's scheduled to stand trial in state court for murder. His attorneys have already tried to dismiss those charges based on double jeopardy.
Double jeopardy is meant to protect people, and they're using it as a weapon here.
Now, if Mangione ends up pleading guilty here, and guys, he could always change his mind, he's guaranteed no leniency. Sources tell us this is no plea bargain. He could face life in prison. As for the state case, regardless of what happens here at federal court today, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is prepared to move forward, arguing there's a difference between stalking and murder. Guys.
All right, Aaron Katersky for us. Let's go ahead and bring in ABC News Chief Legal Analyst Dan Abrams. Dan, good morning to you. It's great to have you. So why would Mangione and his team agree to plead guilty?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of evidence against him, right? That's the first problem he's got. Number two is I think that he's trying to avoid two trials here. He's hoping that by pleading guilty in the federal case that he'll be able to avoid the state case because New York has a very protective double jeopardy law. And then finally, I think he'd prefer to serve time in a federal prison, which tend to be nicer than state prisons. So I think that he's hoping that that will lead to a federal prison. But don't assume this is necessarily going to happen. It's what Aaron said. There's the possibility that he comes in, he says, I'm going to plead guilty, and then the judge says, okay, tell me what it is that you did. Tell me what responsibility you're taking here. And then he goes off in a tangent, and the judge says, I'm not accepting the plea. I've seen that happen in cases where a judge will say, unless you tell me exactly what you did, unless you explain to me why you're guilty, I'm not accepting the plea.
So, Dan, what could this mean for that state case?
Well, look, first of all, as Aaron pointed out, they're going to still move forward and try to fight it. They're going to continue to try to get the case to go. The defense is going to say this is basically double jeopardy. But remember, it's a gamble because they can now use that federal plea against him in the state court. So it's not just that he's pleading guilty in federal court. It's if the case does go forward, and I think most people believe it probably would in some degree, you can now use that federal plea against him.
Wow.
All right, Dan Abrams, a whole lot on the line here, and we'll continue to cover it throughout the day on ABC News. Thanks for being with us. We're going to turn now to mandatory evacuations overnight with catastrophic flooding in the Midwest. And Alex Perez is in hard-hit Richmond, Indiana, with the latest. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, Rebecca, it is raining now, and it has been a relentless week of severe weather across the Midwest, but especially here in Indiana. I want you to take a look behind me here. So much flooding that a lot of roads here look just like this one, completely crumbling after all of that water.
Overnight, severe storms and life-threatening flood emergencies in parts of the country. Powerful winds bringing glass crashing down at this campus in Normal, Illinois. In Kentucky, torrential rains turned streets into rivers. In Indiana, the National Guard called in after the governor declared a statewide disaster emergency following days of relentless storms. Flash flooding swallowing entire neighborhoods, roads vanishing underwater, and at least 3 people dead because of the severe storms.
Speechless. Dog day speechless.
Rivers bursting from their banks, racing through communities around Indianapolis. Rescue crews working around the clock searching for anyone still trapped.
We are back in the houses. It is chest deep water.
Night vision video showing firefighters checking houses in Connorsville for anyone in danger.
It's all flooded.
Christian Corder came home to his apartment flooded in Newcastle, water almost up to his car windshield.
My car is completely done for. It ain't going nowhere.
This is what Cambridge City looked like at the height of the storm.
It's devastating, but everyone's okay.
James Aldridge's home took on 2 feet of water. Now he's salvaging what he can.
I don't have flood insurance because I wasn't in a flood zone, so I'm just going to have to try to work it out. I don't know.
Across the country in Tucson, Arizona, a harrowing rescue after this biker was swept away from a flooded bridge. Bystanders are springing into action. The 20-year-old trapped before being swept 100 feet downstream. She's now recovering in the hospital in stable condition.
And you can see this road, just like so many others in the area, completely shut down. And unfortunately, many of the same impacted areas are now bracing for even more rain as we head into the weekend. Gio?
That's just unbelievable video, Alex, and we are thinking of all of those people there. Thank you so much. Now to the tropical storm bearing down on Hawaii. Melissa Adon is on the Big Island now with all of the preparations. Melissa, good morning.
Hey, Gio, good morning. So here on the Big Island, we are facing a hurricane warning. We are right by the seawall, the Pacific Ocean out there. That is where Tropical Storm Lala is churning, and it is expected to intensify to a Category 1 hurricane. And let me tell you, that is rare. It is not common for hurricanes to hit this part of Hawaii. Well, this is what we're bracing for. We're talking about rainfall totals up to 2 feet and some catastrophic areas because we're looking at dangerous winds, erratic conditions when it comes to that. And of course, what we see out in the distance, that surf that Hawaii is so well known for, we could see waves up to 15 feet. All of this already impacting tourism. Some of the national parks for Hawaii's volcanoes already closing, and airlines have already warned travelers if they're going to be heading out here, prepare for flight disruptions. And of course, Rebecca, the time is now to prepare as we anticipate Lala's arrival. Rebecca?
Yeah, as you said, the time is now. Get prepared. Melissa, thank you. Meteorologist Leslie Lopez, meantime, has the track and timing for us. Good morning, Leslie.
That's right. I'm going to get to that, too. And I just want to also mention what has been going on right now in the Midwest and really trailing off into areas of West Virginia. This is over into Iowa, making its way through Illinois. Heavy amounts of rain. Just to give you an idea, this has been days of rain. Over a foot of rain has already fallen and more rain on the way. Flash flood warnings in those areas. Flash flood warnings will consider over into Iowa all the way out towards Illinois. This is a 4 out of 5 risk level in some of these communities, but we're talking about 2 hours of rain, rainfall rates an hour, 6 inches in total. And I want to take you over here because we were just talking about Lala, and Lala is moving right near the Hawaiian Islands, approaching just to the south of it by Saturday. This is expecting to intensify, so this could be a Category 1 hurricane. We're going to keep a very close eye. Right now, it does look like that track may make it just under Hilo or right near Kona. So we're going to keep a close eye on that Big Island by the time we're heading into this weekend, but by tomorrow it should get significantly stronger. Over to you, Whit.
All right, Leslie, we'll check back with you in just a bit. Now to the war in Iran and the military sending a new aircraft carrier to the region as Democrats are now demanding answers about conditions aboard the USS Lincoln during its long deployment. Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz joins us now with the latest. Martha, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. Even during a regular deployment that does not involve combat, it is exhausting work. But 9 months at sea, with much of it at war, clearly takes a toll. This morning, the USS Abraham Lincoln is waiting for relief after nearly 9 months of relentless combat operations and reports of worsening conditions on board. The Lincoln has been at sea for more than 250 days, including one stretch of more than 200 days in between ports of call. Conditions have gotten so bad, some family members tell the Military Times that at least 2 sailors tried to jump overboard. A U.S. official telling ABC News a sailor on the Lincoln did go overboard earlier this month and was quickly recovered. The incident is under investigation. Now, Democratic lawmakers are demanding answers following alarming reports of poor conditions on the carrier, including extreme exhaustion, plummeting morale, and mounting mental health strains.
The bottom line is this should never happen. that this is an unforced error. That ship can't even go into a port in the Gulf because Trump's war has actually made it so dangerous, has made the situation so much worse that there's no safe port for the Abraham Lincoln to visit.
An Air Force veteran sharing these photos of paltry meals, photos that he says were sent by a crew member on the ship back in April. Secretary Pete Hegseth also pushing back on reports that sailors are struggling.
Completely misrepresented. Listen, we make sure that every ship, every crew, every captain has everything we can provide them at every single moment. Some deployments are longer than others.
Plans call for the USS George Washington to replace the Lincoln, though it's unclear when it will arrive. A U.S. official tells ABC News they have not seen an uptick in mental health issues and say the Lincoln has a variety of resources on board, including 1 clinical psychologist, 5 chaplains, and 3 behavioral health technicians. They also have 1 therapy dog on board named Captain Fathom, whose job it is to ease anxiety among the crew. But again this morning, no word on when a replacement carrier will arrive. But for those 5,000 sailors, it can't come soon enough. Rebecca?
5,000 of them, and we are so grateful to all for their service. Martha, thank you. We turn now to breaking news this morning. A kidnapped American missionary released, taken nearly a year ago in Niger. Our chief international correspondent, James Longman, is tracking the latest development on when the husband and father will be reunited with his family. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Rebecca. An American missionary who was kidnapped in Niger last year has now been released. Kevin Rideout from North Carolina is an evangelical missionary who was kidnapped outside his home in the capital, Niamey, last October. His missionary group serving in mission has said he's in good health and will be reunited with his wife, Krista, and their children. Rideout was taken by 3 armed men and likely taken out of town, but no armed group has since taken responsibility. Niger has long faced attacks by jihadis, including Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and the country is currently run by a military junta who deposed the government. Western partners, including the US, were forced out, and the government now has an alliance with Russia. In June, more than 30 people were killed when gunmen attacked the main airport, and the US Embassy still advises against all travel to the country. Gio.
That they do. All right, James, thank you so much. Now to the passenger jet forced to abort its takeoff after blowing tires while speeding down that runway. And Matt Rivers is here now with that story. Hey, Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Gio. You know, it's never a good thing when you blow out a tire. It's a lot worse, though, when it's a passenger jet heading down a runway at 115 miles an hour at O'Hare Airport.
This morning, blown tires and an aborted takeoff on a busy runway at O'Hare.
455 is rejecting the takeoff on 10 left. No assistance required at this time. Stand by for additional. Definitely blew a tire.
A United jet packed with more than 150 passengers on board slamming on the brakes after 2 main gear tires blew out.
Taking off, and all of a sudden we just heard this big bang.
Everybody was going a little crazy, and my mom was getting scared. I was getting scared.
So we saw lots of chunks of tire going down the runway.
United saying no one was hurt. The passengers forced to deplane right there on the runway. It comes as we're learning new details about the terrifying moment a passenger was partially sucked out of a plane window on a flight in Greece last month. A new NTSB report laying out what happened on that Ryanair flight, starting right at takeoff with abnormal engine vibrations. Then, about 9 minutes after taking off, the crew hearing a loud bang. The NTSB saying multiple engine fan blades broke, puncturing the plane in at least 2 places and knocking out that window. And back in row 11, that 61-year-old passenger partially sucked out of that plane, the entire window missing. He was injured, seen in these photos taken soon after. Heroic passengers pulling him back in, the crew trying to block the hole with a metal box.
Now, investigators finding signs of metal fatigue in those fan blades and signs of a bird strike, as is customary during these investigations. Ryanair saying they will not comment during an ongoing NTSB investigation. Guys.
All right, alarming case. Matt Rivers, thank you for that.